The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. It's a couple minutes before 10. I just wanted to get on and check those of you that have logged in. We're waiting for some additional folks to log in. But check that you can hear me and see my screen. So I'm going to move the slide just a minute. So if you would, if you can hear me, can you raise your hand in your webinar panel? Awesome. I see a lot of hands going up. Okay, you can stop raising hands. I'm going to put them down. And if you can see the housekeeping on the slide, on the screen, if you would raise your hand again. Awesome, great. We're going to have a good Monday. Good. I'm going to put your hands down again. We'll get started right at 10 and then have a good home-based meetup. So I'll be right back with you guys.
Is Robert on, Cammie?
No, I don't see Robert yet. Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Cammie Nairn at NCDPI. It is 10 o'clock, and welcome to Home-Based Meetups for Monday morning virtual session. On your screen, you'll see a bit.ly to please sign in today, especially if you have extra people in the room. GoToWebinar will record that you logged in today, but we'd appreciate if you also signed in today. I put these links in your chat also, if it's easier to access there. Our opening slides today, if you'd like to have those open, the bit.ly for that is bit.ly/HBMU APR 20. And that's all lowercase. And again, those links are in your chat. I've also included in the handout section a PDF of today's opening slides and a PDF of the NCEES session slides, and a guide out there that we'll talk about later for targeted announcements. All right, so we're going to do one more quick review of audio. I'd like to unmute all, if you guys would then mute yourselves. We're going to try this real quick. That way, if you need to unmute to talk, we'll already have you unmuted. So I'm going to unmute all attendees. And it looks like a lot of you are already self-muted.
Hey, Cammie.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. Question. I just tried to go into the sign-in sheet. Sorry, they're going to go. There's other people's information in it. It's like,
Okay. All right, so hang off on the sign-in sheet. That's interesting.
Hey, it's Eleanor.
Tessa, do you mind checking my link for the sign-in sheet? I think Tessa's on.
Yeah, it's Eleanor. It looks like the link is to the edit mode for that form rather than the link to the responses.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. All right. So if you guys hold off on the sign-in sheet and we'll check on that. We have you recorded by logging into the webinar. But if you have extra people with you, you may need to let me know. I'll check on that link. I don't think I can fix it right quick, but if Tessa's online, maybe she can check that. All right. Thank you for letting me know. All right. So if you have any audio issues, there are links on this slide to help fix those audio issues. Sometimes you have to log in and log out and log back in and make sure you put in your PIN if you're calling in by phone, things like that. If you have any questions, you can put them in the questions panel or just unmute. As long as we're moving along, I think we're good either way. And I see a question from please share the send link. So Darren, if you'd explain what that question is for the send link, I don't know if you're talking about the sign in, but we will fix the sign in link. But if it's something else, Darren, would you clarify what your question is? All right.
Cammie, it's Eleanor again.
Mhm.
For some reason, the question panel does not allow us to enter a question.
Good gracious.
So the send, Daryl may be asking about the send link because the send is grayed out.
Well, he did enter a question.
Oh, well, maybe that's just me.
Maybe when you start typing, then it ungrays. Because I do have it checked that you guys can ask questions in the questions panel.
Okay, it seems to be doing its thing. It's hard to see because it's not obvious where to type.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not always intuitive on where to type. You have to go down a couple boxes and start typing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm all right now. Happy
Okay,
Monday.
great. Thank you, Eleanor. Okay, so we're going to fix the sign-in link. Sorry about that issue there. We're going to have the opening session right now, and then we'll transition to the NCEES session and go over that through 12:30. All right, this is just a reminder of what we're working on this week, and that's our virtual HBMUs for all our home-based products. So if you'd like to register and join any of the additional home-based products this week, you're very welcome to. SchoolNet will be on Tuesday, PowerSchool and Learning.com on Wednesday. Canvas will be on Thursday, and we're going to have a Friday session for Go Open NC. And here's our tentative dates for 2021. So we need your input. I'm going to have a Padlet activity later if you'd like to type it in there. Please just take these dates back and then email anybody on our home-based team. If any of these dates are bad, we tried to pick weeks that we would fit our calendar and your school calendars for the majority part. We are planning an August virtual session. We're not sure which week that will be yet. So if you have any thoughts on when you'd like those virtual sessions, it'll be just like a 2-hour session like we're doing now. Do let us know what week you think that might be good, because I know you guys are getting your teachers started. For the ones that are not year round, everybody else, you'll be getting started that month. All right. So I wanted to introduce Rob Dietrich. He is our new home-based manager, and he is online today. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I am happy to be here. I have been at DPI a little bit over a month. I can't tell you that it has been a wonderful experience. It's been great. Even coming in the middle of this situation we're in, it has been a very good learning experience, and I think it's been fun. I did want to speak a little bit to you about the home-based opt-in process. As I spoke with you about the COVID-19 situation we're in, we have decided to delay the opt-in process until May 15th. Therefore, allowing schools a little more time to kind of decide if they want to opt in or not. It will still be due by June 15th, and the price is still the same at $1 allotted per ADM. We just felt it would be a good option to push it back because the initial start date was when all of this occurred in April, and we just felt like we need to give districts a little more time. Next slide, please. Are there any questions on that?
I'm not seeing any questions.
Okay. I am very proud to come and work for the Digital Teaching and Learning Department, and I think that everyone in this department, from the home-based team to the consultants to Dr. Wren, have all done a great job preparing for this event and kind of going on the fly and putting out all the resources that they have. Please make sure that you are visiting the website there on the slide that's in front of you to get all the resources and current information to help students with remote learning and help move the districts forward through this time where learning from home has become more important than ever. Next slide, please. PowerSchool upgrade. We have listed a couple of things. We just completed the upgrade on April 18th. The biggest thing about that is that the student records transfer is now working, and that now they can go back and transfer out outstanding transfer records that may have been incomplete all year long. Next, please. And Tessa, if you're on the call, please jump in if you like. The EDI feed was disabled on April 20th. So what that means is you don't want to make any changes in EDI for 2020-21 until after July 1, 2020. The exception is for new schools opening. Those can be updated as needed. I know that there are districts out there working on creating new schools and making sure that those schools are ready to go for the beginning of the year. If your district has a new school that will not reopen in 2021, enter a closing date for that school in EDI now. And then EDI will close on June 30th to prepare for the rollover to 2021 and should reopen on July 1st. Please note that this is, and the year-end checklist will be sent out to all EDI subscribe users at the end of May or in early June. Next slide. EOY process is set to begin on June 30, 2020 at 5 p.m. We're going to work DPI, we've currently started last week working internally to make sure that all departments are ready for this process. Please make sure that you update your EOY contacts so that we know who to contact in the event that we need to grab somebody. And then process will take place on either July 1st or July 2nd. We are looking at maybe July 2nd to give PowerSchool some time so that when EOY starts, we can start it right at 8 o'clock and people aren't hanging out waiting for us to be ready. Next slide. Go Open North Carolina. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. This is a great place where you can go and you can put lesson plans in, share all your materials so that everybody across the state can use it. And what I can tell you is that since this has been opened, it has almost doubled in size with all the lessons that people are dropping in during this remote learning experience. It has really taken off and we are very proud of where it has gone. So please make sure that you go to Go Open North Carolina and preview it, look around, add material and take stuff out. We believe this is going to be a very valuable resource for educators across the state of North Carolina. Next slide, please.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. I guess I can speak to NCEES. Anybody have any questions for Rob before we move on? All right.
Tammy, if I could just say one more thing about PowerSchool before you move on. That I should have put in those slides. The grading rules, we understand the grading rules were put out last week at the state board meeting, the new policy. We are working towards directions on that and hope to have those out by the end of the week.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Give me just a second. I need to mute a couple folks. Or if my team would mute.
Yes, please. Also, that last slide, Cammie, the bottom of it was missing. The bullets, you only saw two. Yeah, that one. Okay. The learning bullet.
Yeah, so half of it's the text box goes over, so yeah, I can fix that. Yeah, it'll kind of go off the window.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Home base, our end of year is going to be Tuesday. NCEES end of year is the same as CIS, June 30th, 2020. We will archive all plans beginning at 5 p.m. We'll talk about more about this in our NCEES breakout. All plans must be completed by that date. We're going to talk more about that. PSUs should run any and all reports. We know we've talked several times about how if you wait until next year and run this year's reports as a last year report, the only thing that you're going to get correctly is the standard ratings if you're running ratings reports, if you pick the correct form, and the user's UID. If people change names, they change location, all of that stays current in last year reports and current year reports. So just keep that in mind. Anything that you need for next summer or next fall for your superintendents, your principals, determining the plans that you're going to set next year, run those reports before end of year. All right, and then we're expecting possibly to be back up between June 8th and June 10th. We'll talk more about why we haven't selected a date for that yet. And then learning.com. Implementation funding for learning.com does end with this school year, 1920. There is still going to continue that convenience contract pricing with this vendor. That's $750 per student or $3,200 per site license. And then we did do a survey statewide about the K-8 initiative. And we had about 97 respondents. 27 of those were the tier ones, and the tier ones that did receive that funding that is ending this year to implement learning.com. Overall, the users that responded were satisfied with learning.com. The delta for the survey overall was that users reported that because of the implementation timeline, a lot of folks were not in there good until about mid-year, so they don't feel they've had enough time to gather data with fidelity to show student growth. Any questions about learning.com, please contact their state person, that's Tiffany Kinney. Again, if mics one more time, please check your mics and please mute. And then Imagine Math. I don't think Pam's on. Let me check our attending. We're getting a lot of feedback. All right. I think that did it. Okay. All right. So Imagine Math. And you can read over that. That's our K-8 supplemental math program. It has been going very well with this implementation into 52 pilot sites. And they've seen an average of 2 years math growth about their students. You can click the links below to read more about learning.com or Imagine Math. And then we're asking at the end of the session today, if you would please provide us feedback from today's sessions. Here's a list of our home-based folks. So Pam is Digital Learning Systems Consultant. Justin Connor is our CIS PowerSchool Technology Analyst. I do the NCEES and Learning.com. Tessa and John are both on our professional learning team and do a lot of our training and the QRDs that go out. We do have a shared folder. It will be moving next year because we've had to move over to Google Suite. But right now, this is still in our old Google Drive. So there's old files out there if you want to go see. And we will share today's file there too. So if you would, click over to the link for NCEES. And Rob, did you want to say anything else before we head over into the NCEES session?
No, I am good to go. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Rob. All right, so we're going to pop over to NCEES. Give everybody just a minute to do that. And let me check my questions. I did get a message that the sign-in form should be working now. If you guys want to try it again. Let's see. All right. Oh, Robert has joined us. Robert Sox. He's our NCEES business owner. Robert, I will fix your account before we move on. In just 1 second. Okay, Robert, your account is fixed. All right, so the bit.ly for our NCEES slides is on the screen, bit.ly/HBMU APR 2020 NCEES, and the letters are all lowercase. It too is in your chat if you'd like to click from there, or if you've downloaded the PDF handouts that are in the webinar handout section, the link should work from there as well. Check. I think I saw a question come in. All right, so I have a comment about the form. It says first name and last name must be a number, so if my team would check that, and we'll get that fixed. Thank you.
I'm working on that right now, Cammie.
Thank you, Desmond.
Yep.
All right. All right, so here's our home-based ecosystem. We have our 4 core products, and of course, those additional products like Imagine Math, Learning.com, Go Up and NC. And why we are meeting to foster positive, productive, field-based relationships and to communicate to you and you communicate to us. We definitely learn from each other. I always enjoy these conversations that we have when we're at home-based meetups. So here's just a reminder that Rob Dietrich is now our home-based manager. I think we did introduce him in February, but if anybody new is joining today, this is our home-based manager, and we're very glad to have him. Looking for some good days ahead and a lot of leadership from Rob. So today we did do the opening, and we'll do our updates next, and we'll get into talking about end of year. Somebody requested some information about PD credits and the other things that are going on with NCEES. So again, this is just another reminder. I won't go through this again. We just want your input on these dates for home-based meetups 2020-21. So you guys did request some topics. There, well, was really an overall theme to these topics. You can read over those. I only had one that was different. Most of you wanted information about what are we doing for end of year. So without further ado, we'll move forward. This was a communication that was sent out to superintendents and HR directors. I did include this in our NCEES newsletter, so I won't read through the whole thing. I will move to the next slide and give you like the summary. PDPs should be completed in NCEES for all educators. It's accepted to make adjustments to the, and I'll fix that, PDPs, to acknowledge professional learning completed to prepare for online instructions. So yes, you can complete PDPs. Evaluations. The summary rating form should be completed for any educator for whom all required observations, I'll repeat that, all required observations took place prior to the school closures. So,
Yeah,
yes. Anybody have a comment? Okay. And then finally, instructions for addressing cases where all required observations were not conducted prior to school closure will be provided to HR directors, superintendents, as well as you guys as soon as we receive verification from the General Assembly that we can adjust existing evaluation requirements. So please do not be working to finish observations that were not completed prior to school closure. We want to do what's best for you guys. The General Assembly does have legislation surrounding the evaluations. And I don't know if Robert wants to explain any further, but he is online if you have any questions. So I'll pause right now for questions from you or input from Robert.
Hey, this is Robert. Cammie, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so some of the folks on this call may have listened to the last board meeting where Tom Tomberlin made a recommendation for some board policy around this. We do have a board policy recommendation. We also are waiting for the General Assembly to come back, and they have put together an omnibus omnibus bill for how they're going to deal with a lot of COVID issues. So what we are waiting for is for the General Assembly to come forward and come back into session and put that omnibus bill and get it passed. And then at that point, the things that the state board discussed at their last meeting will go into play. So for that reason, we only want folks completing anything in the system that had all of the appropriate prerequisite pieces, because if we implement the plan that the state board currently has in place, i.e. if the omnibus allows us to do that, all of those ones that did not get completed won't require a lot of extra effort on the part of evaluators. And we don't want people doing extra work if the policy that goes through doesn't require it. So at this point, we're just waiting for the legislators to come into session. Once that omnibus bill passes, assuming that it allows for what the board is recommending, then we'll get that communicated out to HR directors, superintendents, and then Cammie, we can use whatever other communication systems you have to get it out to other folks as well.
Great. Thank you, Robert. I don't see any questions coming in on my questions panel, so we'll move forward. All right, at this time, we always do a successes and challenges Padlet. It's been pretty light lately. Most people we're moving along pretty good, and now we're working remote. But if you would, please do take time to go, and then let me click on that Padlet activity. Let me see if it'll let me go now. There we go. And if you have any successes that have been happening since February, last time we met, please do record those here. If you're brand new to Padlet, just click on the plus sign. It will open you up like a sticky note. You can put in a title. If you see somebody's sticky note that you like, you can rate it with the stars, and you can add your own comments to it. Any challenges going on, we'll address some that were asked during the February Padlet. We'll address those later in our slides, but please do put those there. And then as we talk about any of these, we will take some DPI action items back. We'll fill in that column if needed. So I'll be quiet just a minute and let you fill this out, and we'll be back on. Let's give you like a minute and a half if there's anything you want to put in there. All right, so I'm coming back with you. I did want to address a question that came in that Robert has answered, because some of you may have the same, you guys can still keep typing, but some of you may have the same question. It was, should new goals be created on the PDP to reflect distance PD? And then the answer was, PD conducted after school closure may be included on the PDP if it is reasonably aligned to the PDP goals. Okay, we got some more coming in, so I'll give you just maybe about 30 more seconds to make sure we got everybody has had a chance to put a note in. Okay. I still see maybe a couple folks typing. Let me refresh my screen. We're good. So you guys can keep typing if you'd like. We'll go through these and come back to any that pop up. All right. So, and please do unmute if you'd like to speak to what you've put in here. I'm perfectly good with that. Love to hear your input. So successes. Definitely seeing lots of online professional learning, both from the district level and from DPI. Thank you for those comments. I see some more of that, lots of online PD. That's great. I'm hoping that that does help your teachers help their students. So we wanted to make sure you guys knew where to get it and where to find it. So maybe you're finding that on our remote learning or maybe in NCEES, different areas that you can find that professional learning. Help desk has been very supportive. We always like to hear that. I'm glad that they've been helpful because we do want those tickets responded to and get your resolutions to you as quick as we can. Thank you for the good, nice little words there. I'm the same way. I still have my support hat on, and I do want to make sure that you have what you need to do your job well. So thank you for that comment. And the gremlin situation that we helped you with, great. I'm glad that worked. So I'm trying to remember what our gremlin situation was, but I'm glad we got it fixed. All right, so I don't see any other successes. So we'll move on to challenges. I'm sorry, I'm working on a laptop, so I'm having to move these question boxes around. I don't have my little side monitor I can slide things over to. All right, so options to add or remove standards during observations that started as abbreviated. Yeah, we always get that one, especially if the observation started as abbreviated and they need to move to more like a standard. Then you have to assign them the standard plan, move everything over from abbreviated into standard. This should be addressed in the new forms. We'll talk more about NCEES upgrade and where we're at with that. But that is addressed in the new forms and new observations. Currently cannot be done in our current forms. Acknowledgement override should take effect immediately and not have to wait overnight. And again, this is also as the system was designed. A lot of the data that feeds the demographics in the system does have to process overnight. I realize this is a signature, but we have looked at this thoroughly with the vendor, and currently they say it has to process overnight. It's because I got a comment, we did not have to wait overnight last year. I think it's the new way it's set up. That it was handled like that. But again, I will take this back. It is on our enhancement list for it not to wait overnight. So I do know we do have it there to keep discussing with the vendor. Assume identity only works for site admins and users. It does not work on other district administrators. That's true. You cannot assume the identity of somebody that has the same rights you do. It's the same with me. I can't, when my super users at DPI, my best people, I can't assume their identity and see what they see. I have to go sit with them. So you cannot, because I think that's a confidentiality issue because of the rights that you have. So yes, you're correct. It only works so that you can see those that have lesser rights than you. So only district admins have assumed identity, and then you can only see your site admins and the users that are in your system. All right. Principal concerns that are still way too many clicks. Yes, we keep hearing this. We hope this is also addressed in the new forms. Currently, we've taken our system down just about as far as it can go. There might be a couple finalized complete steps that are like doubled up, but that's when we tested it out, everything was needed for reporting currently. So there's no way to drill it down further except for maybe a couple of those final complete steps. But I have heard from both sides. Some people want it to remain final and then complete so that it is not locking and you have to go back and reopen it. So that one we kind of left for right now. So yes, we are still addressing this, and some of this should be addressed in the new forms. All right, another challenge. There should be a late hire PDP. Trying to get all 3 steps into 3 months is difficult. PDPs are not required for late hire plans. Late hire plans are also not required. There's no policy surrounding the late hire PDP. So you decide how much time you have and if you want to start a PDP with somebody that has a late hire plan. We will be talking about more about that in our question and answer time. So we can either talk about it now or we can talk about it when we get to that slide. All right. And then there's not a way to change and convert existing observation data on observation plan types once the observation has been started. The plan, okay, same thing we just talked about. The plan change should be seamless. Again, it says the system is designed right now. We'll have to wait to when we can upgrade to the new forms. We need the ability to copy ratings from a previous observation to a new observation. Some of that may come with the new forms, but there's also a reason why we don't do that, I think. I don't know if Robert, do you have any input on that?
I would need way more explanation as to what it is they're trying to do.
Okay, so if anybody wants to add to that ticket, or if you want to unmute, please, whoever put that ticket in and talk to that, copying observation ratings to a new observation.
The only time copying observation ratings to a new observation would be appropriate is if you were changing plan types. There is absolutely no reason to copy observation ratings from, say, observation 1 into observation 2. There's no reason to do that. That is the equivalent of taking last week's Little League ball score and putting it on this week's scoreboard. There's no reason to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. All right, and then downloading, wait a minute, I think I skipped one. Currently an observation can't be finalized unless every element is rated. It would be nice to know when a user presses save if there's an element that was inadvertently skipped. Well, if you don't see finalized, that's it. But I understand what you mean because I have asked the vendor this when I've been testing the plans. You want it to kind of flag which line is missing a check mark. And I think because we're looking at moving to new forms, this enhancement is in our request. So if we stay on our current forms, we have asked the vendor to take a look at, is there a way we can flag which line doesn't have the little checkbox? So do know we are looking at that. Downloading PDF of just summary evaluations through reporting. The report comes out, but it doesn't have the ratings or the comments. Is this export to PDF, Sally? On PDF with summary eval.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Sally. So yeah, I did talk with Sean last Thursday, and I am going to open a ticket to see if we can create a template in that export to PDF. So I'll get that ticket in today. And so that you guys can have that. But did you not have the check boxes to include the ratings or comments?
So when I tried to do the export PDF, it gave all the logistics around a summary evaluation. So when everything, the dates that things were locked, but the actual ratings and the comments weren't in there. So it could be user error that maybe I just need someone to help me, but I couldn't get it to work.
Okay. All right. So you went to export a PDF, schedule a new export. I did too, so I'm hoping I don't know if this will work.
Yes.
Yeah, I might have last year plans in here. I don't know if I have 19, 20.
If you want, I could send you what I got, an example, that might help. And to the parameters that I put into the report, I could just send that to you in an email.
Yeah, so you went through all these little steps up here. So yes, that would help. And then we can maybe create a guide if needed for everybody.
That'd be great. Thanks, Cammie.
All right, thank you, Sally. I lost my palette. Okay. All right. Make sure I got everything there. One more column. Persist record of activities information. The demographics don't stick unless the form has been edited. Can somebody speak to that? I'm not quite sure what that question is for the record of
Hey,
activity.
Cammie, it's Eleanor.
Hey.
This is mine. I'm sorry. I probably should have put it in challenges. I didn't mean to add something to your action item list.
Oh, it's probably going to be an action item, but go ahead.
On the record of activities, activity, once the it doesn't actually capture the demographic information unless you literally click edit on the form.
Is that for the teacher background section?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you don't put in any teacher background, then that activity basically remains empty.
So are you talking about the fields at the top of the report?
Yes.
Supposed to populate?
Yes.
That was fixed. So let me take that back.
All right. Well, let me double check.
It doesn't populate all the demographics. If that's what you were wanting in there, I think we narrowed it down to just the teacher role or the role of the staff. So yeah, if you'll send me a screenshot and what you want in there, but the record of activity reports should be fixed, although we know they break every couple of months. So yeah, let me know.
Right. All right, and I can double check. This may also be a difference between NCEES and our instance, so I will double check and let you know. But yeah, that's one of those things that I'm always trying to make sure that I remember to do before the end of the year.
Yeah, because we had them, and have them. What we did, Eleanor, was targeted to the orientation. So then it should now populate, once that orientation is completed, the record of activities should put in the teacher location and the teacher demographics role. So ask.
Great. I will double check that and let you know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments before we move on from our Padlet? I think we've covered all our little. Thank you guys for filling those out. I appreciate that. All right. Let me check our questions box real quick. I think we're good there. Thank you. All right, so we have already talked about end of year. It will be Tuesday, June 30th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it will be right at 5 p.m. Those plans will be archived, and we are working with the vendor as to when to bring that back up. Let's see, this was on the opening slides. Make sure you run those reports and get that communication out. District administrators, you'll be running the bulk of reports. You have the ability to do the ad hoc reports, the quick reports, the reports on the evaluation page. In February, we went through all of the end of year items. So I do have a slide in here that links back to the February slides if you want to see any of the report lists that we have out there. This is the recording and the presentation for end of year that we did. And of course, now some of this is changed because we are working remote and we may not be finishing all the evaluations. All right. So any questions before we move on to what's new with NCEES? Okay, not seeing anything. All right. So moving to Forms 2.0, Observations 3.0. We have been working very hard with the vendor to try to make this happen for the 2020-21 school year. The updates include creating quick reports. So those that are in Charlotte MEC, we currently sync our data from NCEES to the Talent Ed system in CMS. That sync will go away whether we upgrade or not this summer. PowerSchool has created the state some reports. We do have to continue working with CMS to make sure their fields match our fields, so those reports will pull correctly, so that we can get data from everybody statewide that is required, especially for those end-of-year standard ratings from all our districts. So the sync is going away, but we do have reports to pull what we need. Updated user interface in the new forms. You guys will be very pleased with the new interface. There's a way for us to, for DPI to be an observation designer. So we will be working with the vendor to get everything set up so that we don't break our rubric and that everything works fine on the new system. And that's including managing the framework within those observations. And then evaluators have improved observation management, and I'll show you a screenshot in just a minute. They are closing gaps with previous versions of observations. You'll see color-coded rubric elements, alignment and display of evidence notes and elements, creation of evidence-only sessions that are outside of those required observations. And then you'll be able to view multiple ratings and tally field reporting. And ratings finalization. One thing we have the opportunity to do currently when you're in a form, in an observation, you see those standard ratings titles. And Robert would really like that to change. He knows what those headers are, so if Robert wants to speak to that, we will be working with the vendor to change the observation headings to not show as ratings because it causes a lot of confusion. With the summary evaluations. Teachers think they're getting rated during the observations, and they should not think that. And evaluators should not think that. All right, and then we have improvements in the forms. We'll see who shared and finalized. More fields that show who and when signed off on an activities, and then enhanced teachers and district-driven professional learning goals. So more of that PD connected so that while you're in an observation and somebody needs help, you can assign that PD to them in an easier way. So where are we at? We're determining that possible upgrade implementation timeline. We have come up with a timeline. It is very tight. We have to have everything tested, trained, and completed by July 10th. So that's only a few weeks away. Because we need our year-round schools trained. They need to be up and running by July 10th. And then we will be requesting you guys to help test. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email. We would love to have some different districts help us test if we get this to move forward within the next week. We really need an approval within the next week or so to move forward. We want to do what's best for you guys. I don't want to push something out that's going to be flying the plane as we're building it. We've already been through that, and we don't want that. So if the best option is to stick with what we got, then that decision will be made. But we'll let you know we would really love to move to the new forms. That answers a lot of questions and a lot of enhancements that you guys are requesting. All right, any questions about the upgrade? Here's what an observation dashboard looks like for an evaluator in the new forms. You can just look across. They can see how many have they scheduled an observation with, how many are in progress, how many have they finalized. Down below, they'll have a list of their staff, their teachers and support staff that they are doing observations on. They can easily set dates and schedule from that screen for their next observation. They can see what's been scheduled on the right. They can easily hide or show different areas of observation. So if they're done with all their observations then they can pick the date to hide from. So there's a lot more in there. So that's just a quick preview. All right, let me check our questions. All right, we do have a question. Could the vendor also change plan column title to active plan and roll to assign plan on the staff evaluation tab? I think so, because it didn't used to say plan. I had them change it to plan last year. I forgot what it used to say. But yeah, that's an easy request. So Sally, if you email that to me, and if anybody else has any input on that, so I'm thinking you're meaning when we're on staff evaluations. I'm thinking you're meaning this up here, plan, and then roll.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Cammie?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
So,
Yes.
so plan.
Mm-hmm.
Plan is their active plan and roll is their assigned plan. And those do not seem to be intuitive to users. I'm constantly having to explain the difference between the two.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good input. So thank you, because you guys are working with it every day. So that's an easy fix. All right, put this back. Okay, so our next feature release updates from PowerSchool is 20.4.1. It will be going into test today, and it should be going to production by May 9th. There's the release notes that they sent me. I've gone thoroughly through that, and I don't see anything that affects North Carolina except this one. If this will fix the evaluator's access to notes in completed observations, and I'll show you where that is. So let me show you. So when you are looking at an evaluation observation, let me try this being completed. Let's try this one. All right, so when the evaluator goes in to an observation and they're going into that formal observation, and notice this one has been completed. They were wanting to come back in here even after completion and update the notes. However, they're only seeing feedback, or they're only seeing feedback in managed files. They aren't seeing notes. After this update, they should be seeing notes here again. They do have a workaround until then, because any notes that are entered go into the performance journal right here that the principals have. Super users can see, district admin should be able to see. Any notes that were entered should be here, and you can work with notes from the performance journal or add notes from the performance journal. But that should be fixed in a couple weeks. Okay, let me go back to the slides. And then we have another update, 20.4.2, that should be in my test by May 14th and in production by May 30th. A lot of these fixes are just internal fixes, fixing dates, fixing the way things are worded. A lot of PD side of things that they're updating. And then down below is just a general target release dates. This was given to me a while back, so some of these dates may have already changed. But this is a general gist of when the next updates are coming. All right, we did have release 20.4.0 on Thursday, April 9th. Sean presented a webinar, and there's a link there to that webinar if you missed it. Just little minor updates in that as well. Trying to remember what the main thing in here. Little dates were updated. And now when you're creating a calendar event, and I really hadn't noticed when I was creating calendar events, but it used to be a two-step process to make the event and then have it show. Now you can do all that on one page. And then there's added a field to the course catalog for how to sort when you're searching for PD, and we'll look at that later. And then enhanced course approval workflows, so that comments when you're creating courses between the course requester and the course approver, they've improved that comments that go back and forth between them. Premium library is still a go. However, the fellow that I was working with got promoted, Jeff Skeen. We do have a new fellow, Dave Davis. Not Dave Davis. He's a Davis, but I can't think of his first name. Anyway, so we're going to have to get him up to speed. This is in test, and I will be emailing my advisory council members to take a look at this. If I have a couple of you guys that want to help take a look at this, I don't mind you emailing me, and I'll pick a couple to get in here and look at this. So this is where you can go out there and purchase seats from like acapella and different groups that put out professional learning. You can purchase one or more seats for your teachers to take. So if you guys have somebody that can give me input on how this should look, we're working with Jeff on trying to get quarterly bundle reduced pricing. So we would like to know what types of courses you would need over the summer, in the fall, in the spring, and in the after the spring toward the end of the year, so that we can possibly work the vendors and get some bulk convenience pricing. So we'll get those conversations started back up. So shoot me an email if you'd like to be involved with any of that. All right, so we're going to go to the live side. I've been working on the professional development and teachers as they search for courses. So when you're in NCEES, teachers searching for courses would click on professional development. And of course, on this page, you can search here for courses or PD playlists that are created. They can narrow it down by what's aligned to a certain standards. So they would click a standard or do overall, and then they would click the available button to see what has been tagged. We are continuing to work with our DPI course requesters to make sure those courses are tagged. As you guys build out your local PD, please make sure your courses are tagged. It helps your users find what they need. The explore buttons here don't do anything for North Carolina, but they can't hide them. Down below, they can also search by subject area. Those are also tags that you put on when you're creating your courses. And then here are some additional ones I've added, so nothing is probably tagged to these yet. Durham requested that the school improvement plan, the 5 components of the school improvement plan, they be able to tag their courses that they're creating with those 5 areas. So I worked with Robert, and we came up with 5 areas of those district strategic plans that meet what majority of folks have for their school improvement plan, 5 areas. So you can use this to tag your local PD. And then I've added the digital learning competencies for both teachers and administrators. So if you're creating courses, you can tag that to them. And then finally, the ISTE standards for students. I've only added one group of ISTE standards, and that's the ones that the schools, the State Board of Education have approved, and they're calling them the digital learning standards for students. So if you have offering professional learning opportunity for your teachers that will then benefit the student standards in their classroom, you can tag that PD to those. This helps with reporting, just letting you know that it's out there for you to use to tag your courses and then later report on it. The other thing is when they're searching and they're get their results, or they do the show all, those refinement settings are over here. So there's the subject areas that we talked about. So if you were to click on one, say you're looking for world languages, then you should come up with any PD out there that's tied to world languages. Do know that a lot of our older courses have not been tagged yet, but we are working with the leads to get everything caught up. There's the plans, the competencies, course provider. Are you looking for DPI's Canvas courses? Check that box. Are you looking for Moodle courses that now are housed on NCBPS? Click that box. Non-Moodle, that's for any other professional learning opportunity. Could be instructor-led, could be face-to-face, could be blended opportunities. They would have chosen a provider of non-Moodle. And then learning opportunity type. Are you looking for a self-paced opportunity or an instructor-led course in your local district? And then we also included offices. So DPI's offices are here. Your offices are here. You should only see your office. So you can't click in here if you're in Durham and click Alexander County. You won't get any results, just to let you know. But you can do the DPI offices. And then credit areas. So literacy, academic, general, almost all the DPI courses are general credit types. We do have a couple that are DLCs if your teachers are looking for those. But most are general because you guys at the district level should have a professional learning lead person that helps determine what actual credit type to assign. Technology will be going away this summer. It now falls either under the DLCs or the literacy. So it will be going away. We're just hiding it. So those of you that have assigned technology credits, it will remain on the staff transcripts as technology. We're not going to delete it or it will go away. So we're just going to hide it. And then, are you looking for some instructor-led online courses? This is another way to search. And then if sometimes people are bad about archiving courses when they're done. So if you want to see any that are still in progress or complete. When you click on these and check a box, there's a button up here to reset all, or you can just reset the section you're in by clicking over on the left. And then I was going to show you the one other area that was in the 20.4 update. And that was sorting your results by start date. This puts all your instructor-led courses by date and moves all the self-paced courses down to the bottom. All right, I'm going to pause and see if we have any questions. We do not. Okay. All right, we have a salary codes enhancement request to add object code 128. And that role would be reemployed retired teachers. We only currently have 5 of those using this number statewide. It has so far been approved and brought before the Change Review Board. We had a question at Change Review Board to please take this to our school business and make sure that it does not also need a purpose code to further define that role. So right now there is an email out to school business and accountability to further define that. And if we get the go ahead, I think this probably should be something we implement at the end of school year for next year because of where we're at right now with working remote. But just to let you know, those that have requested this is on the track to be approved and implemented. All right, I have a new guide for you, target announcements for administrators. So you can click here to see the guide, either on the words or on the picture itself. It is also included in the handout section of today's meeting. And a lot of you were requesting an updated guide for how to send out those targeted announcements. If you want to walk through any of that later, let me know. I do have a question for you guys. So targeted announcements show at the top of the bar under the envelope icon, and we'll go look at that in test. This screen here is what I want your input on. So let me show you what it looks like in production right now. I can get out of here. So we used to have the My Announcements channel on the home page, but because we also had the calendar channel on the home page, it was moving very slow. So I know you guys are probably, as we get towards the end of the year, wanting to send announcements to your teachers and your principals. So I've asked them to put the My Announcements on their My Evaluation page. I will shorten up this top section so they don't have to scroll down so far, but currently this is the way it looks. I just figured this would be a good spot if I was a teacher and I was out here. I don't always come up here to my envelope icon and really notice it. So, but here it would be on their page when they went to their evaluation, any announcement that you sent out, it's time to complete such and such a date by such and such a activity by such and such a date would be a good place for the announcements to show up. I'll take any input on this, but then I'm asking the vendor to also, let me get over to test, maybe make that page a little easier to see. All right, so this is a test user and making it 2 columns. It does maybe make the evaluation side a little more crowded. You would still see the links for where this plan was started, what district, things like that. It does fit, it will fit, and if you look at the screenshot on the side, you'll see that. But over here, now I can see everything instead of having to scroll down. So I wanted your input on if you like this better than having to scroll all the way down. You can still click on a plan and it does, well, I'm in test. It does open full screen. So it does not remain in a 2-column view when you're clicking into the plan. So do we have any input on that? So I'm getting yes, that looks better with the 2 columns. You can speak, you can unmute and talk too, that's fine.
That looks fantastic.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we'll move forward with moving it into 2 columns. All right, then did you guys have any questions right now about doing targeted announcements? We could do a
Hey,
little
Tammy, it's
webinar.
Eleanor.
Yes.
Regarding the 2 columns, I think it looks fantastic. Will it automatically will the layout go back to 1 column if you're on a smaller screen?
Yes.
Or would you then have to scroll back and forth?
So no, it does. Hang on. It goes like this.
Excellent.
Good question.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, so I'll get that fixed. All right. Make sure I'm in the right spot. Okay. All right, so quick reports module. I wanted to give you some updates. I've been trying to update the newsletter, but we now have a date sign field in this post and pre-conferences signed by evaluator, not teacher, for the current year. It now has on the very end a date sign field requested by Wake County, but we've got it set so everybody can see that date sign field. The only issue we had with a lot of times when you're downloading CSV, anything that has a date in it doesn't always hold good when you open it in Excel. The vendor thought they had that fixed, but when I tested it Friday, it was still downloading as it didn't look like a date. But you can always go into Excel and format your column back into a date and time. And then quick reports, we were running into a lot of quick reports that were pulling short UID numbers. And those short UID numbers were found to be internal ID numbers or Canvas ID numbers for districts that had Canvas. So they've corrected that. And so now when you pull, I had them go through every quick report and they said they did and fix that issue to now only show the 10-digit UID as the ID column results. And then I think we talked about this in February, but you do now have that new activity lock report. And that's under when you go to reporting in the first module for reports, click on quick reports for your module and then select the activity lock report. It comes after all the dates. It's first on the list after all the dates. So that has been handy for those that had requested that report. All right. Any questions before we move on to system issues? It is a little bit after 11. All right, we'll move on to system issues. All right, so this one seemed to be an issue a couple of years ago. It's reared its little head again. So this is where principals or district administrators, you can go to system administration and navigate to staff dashboards. go to search by staff because you only want to look for one person. You can type in their name. Here I've typed in there and I hit search. And what I got was a red box with a red triangle with an exclamation mark. So the vendor is kind of scratching her head right now. So they are investigating. They've been investigating for a couple weeks and haven't found the issue yet. I just wanted to let you know that they are looking at that. And for those of you that would like to see the navigation, we'll go there. So you click on System Administration and then go to Staff Dashboards. Let it load up. There we go. All right, so you see the 4 areas over here. If you created staff groups, you can load up your staff group. You can browse staff by site. You just have to keep drilling down in the plus signs as far as you want to go. You're going to see more here because I'm state level. But you see, you can go all the way down to your schools. All right. You can browse by demographics. Anyway, here you may want to come in here and choose the role and click on one of those. I'm not going to load anybody up because I don't want to show anything I shouldn't. And then here is the search by staff. And I put in a name. And I hit search. And we're still getting the red bar. That's where that lives. You can always do one of these others. It will load up. However, if you're a large district, then you have to either group by site and go find the school area or browse by demographics for just that school area and then come over here and you'll have to scroll through the list. So there's not an easy way to find a single person right now, but do know that we are working with the vendor to get that fixed. Okay, other names in administration staff management. The vendor has done a lot to fix this. Most of this comes from staff UID because people remain active in more than one location. And then we have to track down, hey, who, why, where, and contact other districts and all that. So the vendor has pretty much done what they can do. They are still looking at possibly doing a script to hide evaluations, but it's hard to tell who belongs to what districts. Hard to tell the system that, especially when they're active in more than one district in staff UID. So I did ask, is there a way to show me when I'm troubleshooting where the person is that's connected to the person we're looking at? So I'm going to go try to do this and show it to you without showing anything. Let me escape. All right, so this is in, no, lost my page, in my staff. It's slow today. And then you're on that administration staff management tab. Let that load up. All right, and so then you are going to look at the admin rights. So up here is the person I'm giving access rights to. In this next section are the access rights that they have. If it's somebody that has been added manually, there'll be a box here that you can select and remove the rights if they're the ones causing the issue, if you determine that. You have to be careful because if you're looking at somebody's name that's not in your district, you don't want to remove rights from them that they should not be removed from. However, if this person lives in your district, then this person up here should not have access. You can remove the rights. It is hard to tell where each person resides with location. So they're going to add a location field somewhere on here. I'm being a little cautious with this because I haven't seen it yet. I have asked the vendor to show me that. They said it should be updated, maybe not in this next coming feature release, but the next one. So I've asked for a screenshot, and then I have just asked that Thursday or Friday, so I'm hoping to get that this week. But that's where the location field is going to go. That should help you guys troubleshoot and myself troubleshoot. They can still make disconnections that I can't. So get tickets open. If you can't fix it, or then I'll look at it and see if I can fix it. If I can't fix it, I will get it escalated to the vendor to remove rights that people shouldn't see past plans. It's because the system is designed district-wide. So once you've assigned somebody rights manually, the system is designed to always give that person rights to that plan, no matter what year it is. So, but we have legislation in North Carolina that says, oh, if you're in different districts now, you should no longer see plans, even if you've been manually assigned. So they can correct that and disconnect some of that if I can't. Just get those tickets in. See if we have any questions on that.
Hey, Cammie, it's Eleanor.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, me again. Has there been any conversation about that particular window, the layout of that window where it only shows a few of the assigned rights up at the top, and then it's always been a very clunky interface, and I wonder if with the update is there.
I had that exact conversation with the vendor that they were like, oh, we hadn't thought to look at that page. I'm like, well, you need to, because it's very clunky, and you got to scroll and you can't find anything. You can use Control F and it will find names up there. But yes, that little tiny window and you can't expand it any. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
So.
Well, and it actually got worse a couple years ago, and now it's even because I mean, it's always been a difficult interface. It's very tough for people who are school administrators who are assigning mentors and peer observers and so forth. They just it's really difficult for them, especially because they don't use it on a regular basis. And
it is, and it's not intuitive to use either. So
right.
Yeah, I don't even like the one, then down, then up, and then down. The 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
4.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and the whole thing about select all versus don't select all.
Yeah, because it doesn't. Yeah.
Right.
And all of that is on the table to talk about. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, if you need somebody else to jump up and down about it, please call on me because.
Definitely. All right.
Thank you.
Right. I always have to go back, make sure I covered everything. All right. Moodle still does not complete. I still have to run a script. I do try to run that a couple days a week, but I put a ticket in if I've been busy and haven't run it in a couple days. I don't mind having that little kick. Please run that script. They are not completing. The vendor has now again picked this back up. So they should be hopefully finding a way to get this to work. So that we don't have to run a manual script to complete Moodle courses. But yeah, open those tickets. If your teachers are asking, don't make them wait a couple of days. Just go straight away, open those tickets, or shoot me an email and say, Cammie, run your script. So I do try to run that every other day. All right. So looking back at February's Padlet, review and answers, we'll go over those, and do chime in if you see anything you want to make a comment on. So non-required observation containers are showing in progress even when locked. This is functioning as designed. Those are non-required activities, meaning they aren't required to open the summative. So those non-required activities will now show complete, or they have been this year, on the staff evaluations page. I'll show you that. So when you're on the staff evaluations page, let me scroll out a little bit. All right, so you can see your statuses by these green checks and blue circles and the green checks with the locks here. I'm trying to find, maybe I need to find an abbreviated plan. You can always add filters to filter down this page and then click Update Table. All right, so here's an abbreviated plan. Probably need a late hire plan. So if observation 2 wasn't required, this would still show blue. Let me try to change my plan type. Sorry about that. Probably don't have one that's done. All right, so what was happening when you were in the plan? You could come in here to observation 2 and you could complete these requirements. But this observation 2 at the top would always show blue in progress, because this observation 2 is not required for the late hire plan to open this summary evaluation. So it always shows blue, and it's just the way the system's designed. We went back and forth. We had to target an area, an activity, to say, when does this show complete? So when we targeted the overall observation, it did not then return on the staff evaluation page the correct green checks and the lock. So to make the lock show up, and this is an enhancement request to have the observation overall show a lock, but currently it does not. The formal observation will, once you've locked the container, the lock does go on the formal observation. So we made the decision to target to the main activity in each container. So the main activity in observation 2 is formal observation 2 here. So then, yes, it will show blue when it started, green when it's completed, green with a lock. The lock will show up over here when it's locked. But when we come back to staff evaluations, even if you do on a late hire plan complete the observation 2, this page will show the green check and the green lock because we've targeted it to that main activity. Once they complete the enhancement for the overall container to show a lock, then maybe we can then target back to the overall container. But right now, we had to pick one activity, and that was the best of the two choices. So any questions about that? All right. All right. When CEUs come through, if they took another workshop the same day, it doesn't want to offer it as a choice to approve. So this was in regards to the TNL to HRMS credit transfer process. There have been some issues with that. We're still having credits that were entered through the transfer credit manager. For some districts, that's still causing an issue of it not showing up on the HRMS side. Please open a ticket and please put in their attention assigned to Tammy. I am working with our DPI HRMS to troubleshoot those and with the vendor to troubleshoot those. So again, most of the issues with that process have been fixed. It's just a few lingering issues for a few districts. Principal, mid-year comments are not viewable when the evaluator is writing end-of-year comments. This, when we check with the vendor, has never been in place. So I don't know why. That was pre-me. They cannot fix it this year because that would break data in the system. This will be fixed on the 2020-21 plans. Okay, staff evaluation status page. We have a request for an enhancement for the download CSV report. I'll show you where that is. Most of you are probably familiar with running this report on the staff evaluations page. That's under this graph. Oh, right here, this download CSV. Sorry, right here. When you download that, it didn't show when something was locked. There is an enhancement request to show that when it is completed and when it was completed and locked. So that request is in. That's to another one that will come for next year. All right, make sure I got all the questions. Let's see. Please consider changing teacher background to educator notes so the title fits all educators. This one we have not really discussed with the vendor yet or with Robert, so we'll take that back and take a look at that. Most people are not putting teacher background in there. And if you need to know where that lives, that's when you're in a plan. And you go to your record of activities and click on record of evaluation activities. This is where Eleanor was talking about earlier. She has to edit to get the report to populate the fields at the top of the report. This is fixed in NCEES, but this is the teacher background right here where you would edit and fill it in. And the help guide says to put the teacher background in there. Most people are not doing that. Some districts are faithfully putting that in there. Other districts are just putting, this is a good spot to put notes. Change this staff from a directed PDP to a monitor, something like that. So that's where a lot of people put the notes. This person went on leave and now they're back. So just a good place to house your notes. So we'll take that into consideration and determine what we want to use this field for next year. So I'll take any input you guys want to give. If you want to put it on the Padlet, that's fine. Or if you want to talk about it, that's fine. Let me check questions. All right, we're getting a kudos for educator notes to go there. All right, somebody had a question about using Moodle. So when you do build out your PD in NCEES, the vendor has told me that even locally you could use the Moodle and navigate out there and build out your Moodle courses. So somebody was asking about moving to instructor-led from, I guess, from a self-paced course, how to move that content. Here's the help link for Moodle. And I did do a little research. So exporting and importing content back and forth from Moodle. The best option is don't. Rebuilding is the best option unless you're moving from a Moodle course to a Moodle course. So that might be something that you can do. And whoever had that question, just email me and maybe we can get with Gitanjali, Sony, sometimes she'll help, or her replacement, April, and we'll see about what those steps are to help you out. All right. How to copy your registration link when creating a professional learning opportunity. This is under the menu for the gear icon, and we'll look at that during our networking time, but we'll show you how to do the copy registration link. All right, and then we had a question about late hire plans. What is the policy on proficiency? Proficiency requirements for late hire plans do not exist in state policy. So this plan was just created for you guys to use the late hire plan as you determined would fit your district. All right. Directed or monitored growth plans. How are they auto-populating to the next district? Answer, they don't. Well, if you keep them active in UID, they might see it, but please inactivate your staff as soon as they leave. Plans are deactivated in NCEES when the staff move between districts, and they are inactivated in staff UID. The new employer is legislatively mandated to not see that staff's plan from a previous employer. And I'll take that question. I had a question and Robert answered that. Here's the answer. Deactivated plans are only viewable to the owner as PDPs are confidential personal information like observations and evaluations. So there is no transfer from district to district. The staff can access those deactivated plans as long as they remain in NCEES. They have that tab to go find those. And then somebody said there should be a late hire PDP. Trying to get all 3 steps in the 3 months is difficult. And the answer I received from DPI was districts who wish for the late hire plan to do a PDP should make time necessary for those components. Those that do not should skip the PDP. Any questions about those? All right, so I got a comment. It says we are currently putting a statement on end of year evaluations, RE COVID-19 for principals to copy and paste in those background notes. All right, so thank you for that. This is a good spot to put those notes in there. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so if you missed our February meetup, here's a link to the slide presentation. That's for if you need any of that end of year stuff or the list of the reports that are out there for you to run. Excuse me. All right, so if you guys don't mind, let's take like a 2-3 minute break. I've got to get something to drink. I'm gonna go mute for a minute and get something to drink, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, thank you for allowing me to get a chance to get something to drink. I appreciate that. Do we have any questions before? This is the networking time is for you guys to bring up any questions you have. I did have one request to please go over recording. How do you record CEUs in NCEES? So we will be taking a look at that. And we'll be using the slides that are right here. Before I move on from these slides, district administrators, we'll look at that before we go to this. District administrators, you can edit credit types on the transcript. So you just need to determine if somebody in your district can have district administrator rights that would help manage that. Because as you know, if they're taking DPI courses, most of those are going to show general on their transcript in NCEES. But you might approve them to be DLCs. And so the teacher then wants that to show on their transcript in NCEES, and we'll look at that. All right, so we're actually going to the My Courses tab. I guess I need to show you how to get there. So for you to see somebody's transcript, let me go show you that. You would go to, there's 2 different ways. System administration, go to user accounts, you go to staff dashboards, but we'll look at that in just a second. District administrators, you have the user accounts page. You can scroll down here and you can view courses that people are taking under the drop down menu. You can also view their transcript. So let's search for myself. Since we cannot search by individuals on staff dashboards, I'll just talk about it. When you go to staff dashboards, you would find the individual, you would click on their name, and then over on the right, there would be a tab for individual information, and under that would be a tab for transcripts. So you can navigate to the transcript from there because there'll be also a blue button that will take you actually out to their transcript. So here you would come here and you would click view transcript and then scroll down to their transcript. So up here is just a search area. If I had a lot of PD, maybe I only want to search for this year's PD that I have on my transcript, because it does keep all the credits from year to year. So here, if you're a district administrator, you're going to see these edit buttons. Now, notice this one up here has not set, and you're like, what does that mean? Well, it's not set. These are entries that came from the transfer credit manager. So if you had a PLC opportunity for your teachers, you could have created that event in Transfer Credit Manager, added all your teachers to it, and assigned them the credit that they would earn. So over here on the far right would show the credit that they earned and what area you assign it to. Notice in Transfer Credit Manager, you can assign more than one type of credit. So this does not give them a certificate. They would have already turned in their certificate to you, or you would have already handed them a certificate from the event. So this is not going to show a certificate. If they take a course that you have put in NCEES, or take a DPI course that is in NCEES. So here's one from our curriculum and instruction department, DLI book study. It was completed on 4/17. I have my certificate here and I have my credits. Maybe I don't need an academic credit, and I've asked my district to change this to DLC. And they determine, yeah, it does meet DLC. They can come over here and they can click the edit button. Once I did that, I now have a save button and a cancel button on the left. And then as I go to the right, and this is the other issue we've asked NCEES to fix, is I don't want to scroll down all the way to the bottom of the page so I can scroll over. So here we come back up. I don't want to change this. I've completed the course. What I want to change is not the amount, although you could if that needed to be done. I want to change the credit type. And as simple as that. I'm going to scroll back over and save it. So now this course is now showing on my NCEES transcript with the DLC. Excuse me. And it would have updated down here too. Ooh, hope I don't get a tickle on my throat. All right. Excuse me. All right. So if we don't have any questions about that, that is where you edit transcripts. Excuse me. So about recording PD and NCEES, we held a session at NC Learns event that was going on. I'll be right back. Okay, my apologies again. So this was the this is a good place if you're putting PD into NCEES. This was a very fast webinar that we held. We are going to hold some more in May, extended webinars. So in here is all your guides. Sorry, on how to do PD. Gracious. All right. So how to locate that transcript we just did, how to understand the transcript, all about the PD office, how to get one or find out if you have one. Please put in a ticket. You must be opted into Homebase to use the PD office. We went into explaining the roles and then how to manage those learning opportunities. So if the person is online that put in this request to talk about CEUs, If you don't mind unmuting and asking your questions, so we know what to look at. I will navigate over to the other side. Just share this with your team because all the guides are in here on how to set that up. Transfer Credit Manager will be included in the next webinar that we're holding. We did go over it quickly in here. I'm trying to find it. Okay, Transfer Credit Manager. Everybody's teacher statewide can see Transfer Credit Manager and put in my request. I have a lot of requests out there that have not been responded to. Although we did put a caution that unless you have an approver in your district, don't enter a my request. Apparently people are still putting them in. If you want to find out if you have an approver in your district, please email me or put in a ticket. Because you do need an approver in there before the teacher's requests are responded to. DPI is not going to approve the request. I do have to set up any and all approvers in the system, so I just need to know who needs to be in there. I did start adding district administrators to be able to get to my request, but I have not completed the whole list of district administrators. Also, if you want to put in those events, like your book stays, your PLCs, anything you're holding regionally, that can go in as an event in the Transfer Credit Manager. We'll go to the live side and look. It might make more sense. So, Transfer Credit Manager, everybody should have. If you've been assigned rights, you will see additional links over here. Most people are only going to see my requests until you've been assigned rights. Once if you've been assigned approver rights, you're also going to get approval request administration down here. And if you've been assigned management rights, you're also going to get the bulk requests. So the bulk request is where you're going to put in that event. So you would click on manage bulk requests. So I think this is what you were asking about. So you would create a new bulk request. You would enter a title. Well, I can get in there. Anything with a red asterisk right here is required. So description is required. The date started and date ended is required. And notice the little pop-ups that come up once you save something. So if this was last week, put it in there. Okay. How many hours was this? So maybe this was a half a day for my teacher. So we did 4 hours. And then we're just going to put in, because the form had to be the same for the my request, for the bulk request, and for the request to enter for another user, it had to be the same form. So this area here is on a bulk request really not going to do anything, so we didn't make it required. Although you can put what you think is going to be here. So maybe this was 0.2 academics and 0.2 of leadership they were earning that day. And then notice nothing else is required. Since this is a bulk request, we don't need to attach any certificates or badges. The teachers have what they need. If you were doing this as a my teacher request, they were putting in their own request. You decide whether to tell them if this is required that they need to put in their certificate, and then tell them if it's required whether they need to put in their signatures. But we're doing a bulk request. I don't need any of those. Now, down here is where I'm actually assigning credits, and it is required. So I just need to tell it what areas I want to put credit types on. So I have to check the boxes and then put in the amount. Okay, and then apply those credits. If I already had recipients listed, I could put a note in here. I don't have to put in a note. I just submit it. Now I have my event created, and it is approved event. It's got a green thumbs up. Then I come over here and add my recipients. So I need to come over here. The search is for if you already have a list of recipients on here, do you want to search for them? I don't have a list yet. So I'm going to add recipients. There isn't an add advanced. So add advanced allows you to put a list of emails or a list of UID numbers into the form, into the search, and then just bulk add people. Whatever you put in there has to match what's in NCEES. So if they're emails, they must match the emails that are showing in NCEES. Those come from PowerSchool or from HR. So let me see if I can find. So I found the person I want to add. I can add selected. And notice I can keep searching. So I can add who all was at the event, and I can add selected. And then when I'm done adding folks, I can click done. I think. Oh, close. Click close. Don't know why the done button's there. All right, so I click close. And now those people have been added. And now I should have this credit on my transcript. So I'm going to go look. To my transcript. And there's today's test event. And remember, it says not set because it went in through Transfer Credit Manager. And I have my credits. Should have my credits over here. So you can force it to move over if you grab and slide. So that's how to enter credits from the Transfer Credit Manager. All right. Does anybody have any other questions that they want to talk about today? And we'll go back to our slides. If anybody needs a walkthrough through PD Office creating a course, let me know. We can do that. So while I'm waiting for any questions to come in, it is, let's see what time it is, 11:45. We can go to 12:30, so but it looks like we might be ending a little early. So coming up, remember tomorrow will be the 8th session of the new Assistant Principal NCEES series on April 28th from 4 to 5 p.m. Do remind your APs to join us for that. We have close to 500 signed up. We usually have between 200 and 300 that actually join. So they may just want to have a reminder. These have been very valuable to the APs that have joined. It's been a very informative session series that Kim Simmons has come up with. And then to address a lot of the PD, I heard from a lot of districts saying we're creating PD for our teachers. Maybe you want to have that show on their NCEES transcript. I've heard from districts that want to do that, charters that want to do that. So we are going to hold an extended version of the slides that I just showed you. This would have been done at CCES, but we divided it into 2 parts. It's called Expanding the Pathway to PD 2020. The first session will be May 5th or May 7th will be part 1. So you can attend one or both. It's up to you. It's going to be the same session. And we're going to cover how to manage your local PD office, assign those rights, and then create courses. And it doesn't have to be just courses. It's any learning opportunity. Kathy Oliver, our Southeast Regional Facilitator, she comes from Brunswick County. She is wonderful at doing PD and NCEES. And while she's our Southeast Regional Facilitator, she will assist anybody that needs help with getting this set up in your district. And then on part 2 is going to happen May 12th and May 14th. And that's going to cover how to manage learning opportunity, going further into the roster part of the course or the PD opportunity. And then we're going to, again, review PD playlist and that transfer credit manager. So we do have training accounts for people to use. Oh, and I was going to show you that. Let me come back here. Let me escape 1 minute before I finish talking about that. I do have some PD training accounts. Looks like slide 11. So I want to click on here to show you. So what I did was choose in our training site principal groups, and principal has 3 teachers. You can just come out here and sign up for a principal. Each of the principals has been made a district PD office administrator. So they have a PD office, and they can assign their teachers to whatever course they're testing out, or they can have the teacher go search and find a course, or put them on the roster and then go look at it from either way. So here's the groups out here. If you need to test out PD, do put your name over here. And then that group of people is your people to test through at least June. We'll probably update passwords after the end of the year. So you can use these to test out any type of PD. They also have access. Their principal has been assigned rights to that transfer credit manager. So if you want to go play with adding bulk events, please do use this sign-in sheet. And then you can log into the training site, the link's up here, with the username in teal and the password that is beside there. All right, so do join us for that. One more note about webinars in May. When we did NC Learns, we had a lot of teachers on, and they were wanting a webinar to review PD and NCEES, how to search for it with those refined settings, and they wanted to know more about their staff transcript. So we're tentatively scheduling this for the 20th. We haven't picked a time yet. Oh, that should say May, sorry, not March. May 20th, webinar for teachers, PD and staff transcript. So watch for that information. Office hours has been going pretty well. Word's getting out that I can now hold office hours with you guys. I have extended this to not just Wednesdays and Fridays. It's now Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays until we get through the end of the year. Go find a time. If none of the times fit, you know you can always email me and we'll work out a time. So it will tell you what times I'm available when you go in there, and just set a time. They are 30-minute sessions, but so far we've not really had anybody back up behind each other yet. So if we need to go longer, we can. And then I do have my login to go to meeting within the invite here so that we can show screens as well. So here are your reps. I'm sure after this end of year, we will be looking at who's serving, who wants to roll off. Kelly Jones has gone back to the classroom, so we will be needing a new person here. Some of you have already gotten an application in, but just because Rob has just got on board recently, we'll be reviewing how we want to handle the next steps for our home-based advisory board attendees. All right, and then just a review for the next sessions this week. Tomorrow is SchoolNet, so if you'd like to sit in on SchoolNet, go ahead and click register and register for that. And then is any other questions before we wrap up today? Somebody does want to see how to create a new course. All right, so we'll do that. Do remember to do feedback. Did I put that in right here? If you're signing off, we are going to go take time to do, somebody has requested to go how to do that new course. So we'll go do that. But if you're leaving, please provide feedback. And let me go to the live site. All right, so how to create a course. Once you've been given the rights to get the system administration and the course administration, you would click on system administration like I just did, scroll down to applications, and you're going to see course administration. So you're going to click on that. You're only going to see your PD office. I'm going to see everybody's office. The first page you land on is actually where you can search for PD that you've created by title, description, date, etc. But we want to learn how to create a course, so we'll jump right in with creating a learning opportunity. You can get it a little bigger here. Right here. Create new learning opportunity. All right, most of my districts are creating instructor-led courses so they can set up sections. Some people want to create like an overview of a course and then have a section in the fall and another section in the spring, and that way you can just manage that with the sections on the course. Self-paced learning opportunities, ideally, you want the system to complete those. So unless you're using Moodle within NCEES, I would not use self-paced learning opportunity in my local PD office. I would use instructor-led. So we're going to click on that. Scroll over. All right, scroll out a little bit. Okay, so creating an instructor-led course. Down here, you must put in anything that has an asterisk again, right here. So I need a course title. So put your course title in. And if you've logged in on the training site, you can go ahead and follow along over there. So the course description is not required. This does show up if you've published it to the course catalog. Then these descriptions do show up. So you can put it in there. If you have a disclaimer for any reason, it goes here. And then I'm going to put this in my test. So you guys won't have all these. You should just have your office here. So you don't need to choose a different office unless you're in more than one for some reason. All right, so that I'm going to build this in my test office. And now here's where I choose that course provider. And you guys do not use Canvas NCDPI because this is our blue canvas that DPI has. If you have a Canvas course, there are different ways around this. You could put a link in the notes. You could put a link in the resources, and we'll talk about that in just a minute to navigate out to your Canvas. All right, so that did have to be chosen. So I could do Moodle or non-Moodle. I'm going to do non-Moodle. Credit type is, this is going to be a 2-hour course, so it's going to be 0.2 credits. And what is it going to apply to? We'll do those all important DLCs. And then funding source is optional. PD type is also optional. This is going to be a face-to-face event. Duration is optional, but I'll go ahead and let her know it's 2 hours. Prerequisite. Do they need to do something that's really not required prerequisite? Put it in here before they attend. Maybe they need to read a book. Put it in here. And then enforced prerequisites. You can only use this if there is a PD opportunity already in the system. So then you can connect that PD opportunity as an enforced prereq. So when they came in here to sign up for this one, it would say, oh, you have to take this enforced prerequisite course first. And then the notes also show up in the catalog. So you put any notes in here, your syllabus, anything in here. You do have an area to attach documents, so we'll look at that in just a second. Do I want to allow participants to enroll in multiple sections of a course? And that's opportunities or courses. Maybe. If I do, then I want to say yes. If I don't, then no. So maybe I'm having an event the first week in October, and then it's going to be another event the first week in September, October. Then I could say no, they need to take one of those. Or I can say no, it's 2 different sections for that event, and they do need to come in September and in October. So you need to allow them to sign up for each of those sections. These course surveys are old. I know Robert and I have talked about updating these. It's just a time thing to get in here and look at the questions. You can use those. Do know that it keeps emailing the people until they complete their survey. So make sure you choose carefully there. Most people don't put surveys on their courses in here right now. Do not require section start and end times. I really don't know if anybody is really checking this box. If you are, let me know. So I'm just going to leave it blank. File attachments. You can attach a file here. And then archived. So this is for later. Once this is done, I can come back and archive this course. So I'm not going to check it now. So we're going to create this instructor-led course, or I could save it as a draft because maybe I'm still doing something else up here. However, you can edit it later as well. So I'm going to create that course. And now notice at the top, it gave me a course number. So this is my new course number. So take note of that. Under the gear icon is now available. I can come back and re-edit this. I can go to my sections. I can do any of these settings over here. And we'll look at those in just a second. I can manage resources. All of these are settings over here. Do I want to delete this? Maybe I just wanted to restart everything over. You can delete. Do I want to copy this and make a different session, but it's based on the similar course as this? So we're going to look at the settings, and you do have a guide in that slide deck that I sent you. It's also posted here in NCEES under Help Guides. So setting the location puts it in the catalog as long as it's also released. We haven't released this yet. So I have a done button up here. Skip over that. Because I'm state level, I'm seeing this. You guys are probably district level. And you still may not get as many of these. It's because I'm state level. So I'm in training, in the training region. I'm going to set my county. And maybe I just want to publish it to my Bumpkin training schools. So once I drill down to how far I want to go, notice you at the district level can also set school. So if I only want to publish this to a certain school or all my elementary schools, then I could do that. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to publish it to Buncombe School 1. Notice that I could come up here and add somewhere else to publish it to. So I could come in here and maybe I'll send it to Charlotte. They're not going to use it because they're in a different system, but I could add them. And then scroll down and you can see what you've added people to. So if you added one of these and want to remove it, just check the box and remove selected. So this is who's going to see it in their catalog in NCEES. So then I click done either at the top or bottom of the page. Now I've got my settings set. Required demographics, recommended demographics, and restricted demographics. Be careful with those. You have to go in and enable them, so I'm not going to go through all those right now. You enable and then you choose who is actually going to be required to take the course. You could do that through there. The easiest way is just to give them the registration link or say, go look at this number and register for this course. Required shows on their My Courses page forever. So just know that be careful with setting demographics. Resources. This is where I told you you could go add resources. So any of these, maybe I want to put a website in. I'll list it here. I'll list a URL there. Maybe I want to tag it and then give a description. This does show up in the catalog, whatever you put here. All right, I'm not going to add any resources right now, or resource. All right, the next area is aligning those focus areas I showed you earlier. So here's where you can maybe align it. This is going to be arts education, what they're doing with bicycles, but you can add in any of that. There's the strategic plans. You just need to check what it fits. Maybe it meets a safe school environment or any of these. These down here, just ignore it. Those years ago, I think child nutrition was going to be in here, but I think they've gone another route for child nutrition. So these would have to be hidden one by one. So they're still listed down there. All right. I do have to scroll down to save it. Sorry. All right. Save. And now I've got my focus area tag. So if somebody is a new teacher and they went to professional development course search, they could search by arts education focus area and find my course. And then here's how to align your standards. We are going to fix this because currently if you're aligning it to teachers, you're going to have to align it to both abbreviated teacher evaluation process and teacher evaluation process. For it to show up in the observation light bulbs. We haven't talked about light bulbs today, but those light bulbs show in an observation PD that aligns with the standard that you're looking at that the teacher's trying to meet a goal for. So teachers can go click on the light bulb and pick courses that are aligned to the goal that they set. Evaluators can use the light bulb to assign courses for the goals that the teacher set. So once you align it to the teacher evaluation process, click go. And a reminder that for it to show an abbreviated plan too, you're going to have to select that abbreviated plan right now. I'm hoping to have that fixed for next year. All right, so then you can choose standard overall, or maybe it only meets part of this standard. Just check what you need it to align to and align to the elements. All right, and so there, it put them down here, and I have a delete button if I added one that I shouldn't have. All right, I'm gonna click done. And Carla, I see your question about instructor-led and self-paced. Self-paced, DPI uses that a lot because we create our courses in Moodle or Canvas. DPI is Canvas, and the system is set to return to completions. So usually that's what we consider self-paced. If you want to use self-paced, I think that's fine, but you're going to have to mark people complete because, unless you're building out in Moodle. If you're building out a course in Moodle that's going to complete on its own without the teacher having to mark people's grades, that's what self-paced is for. So the teacher doesn't have to grade anybody. The system sees when they've met all the required steps and activities, and it sends back a completion to NCEES. Instructor-led, somebody has to grade and mark people complete. So that helps that. So if you have any other questions, just let me know. All right, you're welcome. All right, so we've gone over all the settings here. Now I need a section for my instructor-led course. So I create a new section. I'm going to do how to ride a bike. I'll do September section. This is required. You do have to have a title for your section. Note, if you're holding this at a certain building in your district, you can put in the address, the city, the state, the zip, what room do they need to go to, who's the contact person, who can they email with any questions, how many people can take this. I only have room for 25, so I'll put 25. This is required. And then, am I going to allow a wait list? Yeah, let's do that. Maybe somebody drops out, so I can do a wait list, and the next person on the list can then be added to the list if somebody drops out. When is this course starting? It's going to start September. Let's do. All right, and when's it going to end? And then how long do they have to register for this course? Maybe I want to cut off registration in August, maybe a week ahead of time. how long can they be on the wait list, or when's the wait list cutoff date? I'll put the wait list cutoff date the same date. That's fine. You decide. You do need to enter start and end times. If you don't know the exact times right now, you can put in 12 a.m. This is what I just generally do. Put 11:55 p.m. You do have another area where you can further define course times. Do I want a follow-up survey here? Well, that would be an additional survey. It goes out after, at whatever date you choose for it to go out, when the section is completed. So you probably don't want to double up. If you set up a survey on the course level, then I would not set one up here. Although this one, you can tell it when to end, or when to send it out. So maybe I want my survey to go out on the 7th. And then how people were complaining, we did this a lot with a regional event, and they were getting email. Well, the answer is go complete your survey and your course will complete. But people didn't want to do the survey, so they kept getting those emails. We can now deactivate a survey within so many days. So we'll deactivate this survey within 7 days. And then am I ready to release my section so it shows in the catalog? So for it to show in the catalog, I have to have a location and I have to have it released. I could release it so people can take it, but I don't want to show it in the catalog. Remove your locations, and then you can send them the course registration link. Maybe I want to release it at a later date because this is not happening until September. Maybe I don't want it to open up until September. So put your dates. You're going to set your instructors on another page. And again, your sections can have notes as well that show up in the catalog. All right, and then of course, I'm going to leave this in progress. Now, if I was entering an event after the fact, then maybe I do want to mark everybody complete that I'm going to attach. All right, I have a place to attach a file. This does show up in the catalog. And then click Create. And now I have my section, and I should have some new buttons. This is where I can add my instructors. You do just like we looked at earlier, searching for people. I can manage class times here. So maybe this is repeating Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. You can manage those. You can go view the roster, which we'll look at in just a minute. And you can manage your course, which will take you back to where you can select the gear and edit your course. So let's go. We can either click Done. If we've just set instructors, we can click Done and go back. Or I want to go ahead and look at the roster. So here's your roster, and we'll go over all these buttons at the webinar coming up. But notice you can email everybody who's on your roster. Nobody's there yet. You can add a learner. You can use a list and use Add Learner Advanced and add them by emails or UID numbers. You can look at your wait list once people start signing up. You can auto-complete based on attendance. If this is an event that you need sign-in sheets for, you must have your dates in on your course. Then you can generate a sign-in sheet. You could also create name tags. You can see your surveys once they're done. You can remove people. You can grade them. Once you add a learner, they'll show up down here. There's one more thing I wanted to show you before we go. So I'm just going to click Done. And I'm going to click Done. And we're back on the course. So somebody asked earlier about copy registration link. That is found under this drop down. And here it is, copy registration link. It says it's copied to my clipboard. Then I can just come and I can paste it in my Google form, my Google Doc, my Google catalog, or in my email to folks. Here's your registration link. Go sign up for this section. And they'll just click on it. It might prompt them to log into NCEES Cloud so they can get into the registration. but it will take them directly to your registration page. So that is now activated on the self-paced courses as well. You would just search for it up here. It's not going to show here because this is instructor-led, but it will be up here. All right, any questions about creating a course? We will go into detail and walk everybody through all the steps with the training accounts in May. All right, see, one other question has come in. If you have any questions about this, where I just showed you, please do get those questions in. Clarification on PDPs. Late hires are not required to complete PDPs. Correct. District decision, because late hire plan is a district decision.
Cammie, can I add something here?
Yes.
So when you think about who needs to be evaluated if they were hired after the school year began, any teacher who will work at least 120 days. So these are the teachers who their year of service, even though they did not start at the very beginning of the year, will count for them because they worked at least 120 days. All of those teachers need to be evaluated. Some districts put those teachers on a regular evaluation plan and they get everything in. Some folks don't feel like they can do that because they've missed enough of the year. They need to reduce the number of requirements, so they put them on a late hire plan. So I would say any teacher who was hired after the school year began, who will work for 120 or more days, is expected to have a PDP because that year counts for them. For those teachers that have less than that, they get hired in March or April or May. How the late hire plan gets done, if the late hire plan gets done, and whether or not a PDP gets included, all of those are local district decisions. The late hire plan is just there to support districts who need to complete an evaluation for a teacher that was hired late enough that it's difficult to achieve all of the required steps. Hopefully that clarification will help.
And that was perfect, Robert. Thank you. All right, so now it's time for you guys to get any additional questions in. Oh, I see one just popped in, or a comment. It says, at Charlotte Mecklenburg, we use late hire plans for teachers hired December 5th, which for traditional calendar schools is the 120th day cutoff. Yeah, a lot of districts do use that cutoff, and some use a different number of days as well. Thank you, Eleanor. All right, so thank you guys. It's awesome that you joined us today. I hope you got a lot out of your home-based webinar for NCEES. Please do provide the feedback on this slide. Here's a link. Thank you again. If I don't see any other questions, we're going to say goodbye to you guys and have a great week.